about CE5 and extraterrestrial contact, download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5, Frequencies of Contact.
I fasted for 4 days, no drinking, no eating. So I sat beside these big pine trees, and when I passed out, I was saying to myself, how big is the universe? And that tree just shot me like an arrow. There I could see the village, I could see the lake, I could see more. And I kept taking off more and more. I could see the hurt, how big it was. And it just kept going, and I could see the hurt was like this, it was going like that, and it disappeared. And then I looked the other way, and I could see stars. And the further I was going, the more things I was starting to see, galaxies and stuff like that. It was kind of huge, and I got scared.
What's up, guys? This is Mike Beavers from The Theory, and you are listening to Alien Strand Podcast, the dopest UFO alien podcast out there. And if you want to find out about me, just go on YouTube and search UFOs over UFO or The Theory with Mike Beavers. Stay tuned, guys.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. Yeah. It's going to be a good one. It sure is. But before we begin, I just want to welcome you to Alien Strand Podcast. If you guys are new to Alien Strand Podcast, and if you're new to ufology, well, welcome to ufology, right? It's about ufology, paranormal, and all that other good stuff that comes along with it. Today we're going to be talking we're going to get to some deep stuff, right? We're going to talk about eternal or internal. This is about what happens to you or a person after you die, right? Or maybe an NDE, right? Near-death experience, right? But I want to welcome everybody to Alien Strand Podcast. You can catch us on 26 to 28 platforms of audio, all right? You can catch us on Spreaker. We are live right now on Spreaker. Man, I do hope they keep this. I really love doing this live. And just thank you for everybody for listening right now. If you're on the road, be careful when you're guys on the road. Keep your eyes on the road. Where it's safe. I know you guys are driving out there. I appreciate you guys listening to the show. Catch us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, CastBox, Deezer. You can even ask Alexa. You can catch us on Amazon Music as well. We're all over the place, man. Podbean, you name it, we're there, man. That's what it's about. And I just really love that everybody's starting to come together back to Alien Strand Podcast on the audio side, not the video. I will be throwing out a video podcast tonight at 7 p.m. Live here in Central Time, 7 p.m. So if you guys want to catch up to that, go to Alien Strand Podcast there on Facebook, and you'll see that live stream I'll be streaming live there on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and Twitch. We'll be live on all those platforms tonight. I'll be showing some amazing alien videos and UFO videos, and I'm just going to break these some down that we analyze for Alien Strand Disclosure Project. Now, if you want to join Alien Strand Disclosure Project, there's no I in team. We all work together as one. Go check us out there at that group page. Please answer all the questions. If you don't answer them all, we're not going to let you in. This is if you're into ufology. If you want to learn ufology, paranormal, anything like that, we have certain groups out there that are can separate it from paranormal or UFOs or aliens or extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, that's what they are. Anyway, but thank you guys for listening to today's show. There's a lot to talk about. We're just trying to plug a lot of information in on this podcast, on this audio. You're catching us on audio. Don't forget to catch the middle series are still out there. The middle part 1, part 2, and part 3 are now on Amazon Prime. Go to Amazon Prime. Please go check it out. Give us a thumbs up on that one. Catch it for this weekend. Today's Friday, right? Yes, I'm glad it's Friday. And we can actually just hang out with buddies and friends. And if you guys feel like, I know it's October. I say October because it's in between October and October. September, right? I say October. That's my way of joking around. My wife always looks at me kind of funny when I do that. But it's okay. I love to confuse people sometimes on that. But anyway, favorite month. And if you guys want to watch some scary stuff, the middle part 2 is kind of creepy, man. If you go check out the middle part 2 there on Amazon Prime, it'll give you kind of the EBGBs there. It sure will. So a lot of these stories are true stories of people that have had these extraterrestrial contact, because that's exactly what it is, and you'll be able to catch their stories live as they were filmed. Nothing was scripted, everything was on the fly. What you see is what you get, right? It's a great documentary series. We're going to have the part 4 be coming out. I'm sorry, it'll be not out till next year, okay? So part 4, the last one, we're going to wait on that, and it'll be out next year, right? But it's okay. You still got 3 of them to watch. Go check it out. I appreciate you guys for watching these small documentaries. They do mean a lot to me, a lot to the people out there that put their stories out there and put their names out there, right? Because it's not easy. It's not easy to get your information out there because you got jobs and you don't want people to look at you funny, like you're crazy. But you know what? The extraterrestrial realm has been opening up more and more every day to people that are actually searching and looking for answers, because we're starting to see things all over the place, right? Speaking of that, I had a friend of mine last night. She contacted me and started sending me videos and photos of her name's Bobby Cavanis. Her son's a famous actor out there. Anyway, so he's a growing actor that's just coming out, and she started sending me things that they were catching on their telescope. And I'm going to show those live tonight on Alien Strand, live on our video podcast tonight. But it was just interesting how I broke everything down, and I'm going to show you guys how I did that tonight. And I hope you guys stay tuned for that live show. Now, if you want to go, if you can't find it, just go where it says all my links on the comments or anywhere on this there's a description on this podcast today. It says all my links. Click on that. It'll give you everything that we have on social media for Alien Strand Podcast. You don't got to look for it. It's right there. The movies, the films, the social media, everything's on there, okay? The books. It's all there, man. You don't have to search for it. Just click that. All my links take you right to Alien Strand, anywhere you want to go. All right. So, this topic today, it can be a little touchy. It can be, because a lot of folks out there in the spiritual realm or what they believe in can actually go different ways, right? There's a lot of people out there that believe that when you pass away or you go, when it's time for you to go, that some people believe you just go into blackness. That's it. It's done. Your history, there's no more you, nothing. You're done, right? And then some people believe that your soul does carry away and go into a different place, different realm, right? And when we start thinking and talking about that, sometimes it does get might get a little political. It might, because people don't like talking about religion, things like that. And really, in reality, it's not a religious thing. It's more of, it's been around for a long time. The actual soul, right, of what it is, and what people think about what it was, even before religious things came into play, right? And I'm talking back then, like way back then, maybe 8th century, things like that. This is where the actual meaning of the soul came to be. So And it says in many religious philosophical traditions, I'm sorry, I'm a little tongue twisted today for some reason. The soul is the non-material essence of a person, which includes identity, personality, memories of immaterial aspect, right, or essence of a living being that is believed to be able to survive a physical death. The concept of the soul generally applies to humans, although it can be applied to other living things, non-living things, entities, animism, right? So, and believe you and me, right? They did this test on when, I don't know if you saw it, but when a person dies, we've all seen a few videos of that. You see like these little orbs flashing through the video or on a camera photo around the person before they pass, right? Now, something about that brings me to a memory, which I just recently had, maybe about 2 weeks ago. I posted it on my personal Facebook page, and it was kind of strange because I had a son. Well, I have a son. He was kind of ill in the hospital. So, and he was on his kind of on this floor to where it was for people that were really seriously ill. A lot of elderly people were up there as well, and when I went to go get something from the vehicle and bring it back upstairs on the 8th floor, and when I was walking past the nurse's station, I noticed that there was a door open, right? So I started walking towards that general direction because that was in front of the nurse's station, and then I was going to hang a right towards my son's room. So as I'm doing that, I'm looking at this door that was open, and when I was passing the nurse's station, I'm going closer and closer to this person's room. As I was doing that, I saw an elderly woman reaching. She was laying in the bed, and somebody was in there with her, sitting on a chair. I guess they were watching her, and she was reaching her arms in the air, and she was saying, "Mama, Mama, Mama, I'm coming," right? An elderly woman. So, and she was pointing directly towards the sky with her hands, pointing with both hands up in the air as she's laying in bed. And this is what I was seeing when I was walking right past the room. Okay. I didn't want to stop and watch, and be that person, because that moment was, to me, was just meant for that person, for her, and for whoever was in the room with her loved one. Maybe she was coming to the end of life, right? And she was actually experiencing something that I had heard of before. I had never, and I have been in a room close to when somebody was going to pass, but sometimes I walk out. By the time I come back in, they had been deceased already, which I'm talking about my grandmother, my uncle, things like that, to where I didn't witness these collaborations that they were having with whatever they were seeing that was coming for them, right? And if you believe this, you believe this, and if you don't, you don't. But this is what I see. Me is like, I'm this person. Don't just tell me, show me, right? So I was actually being shown this process, right? Which I call a process, because this is right before you die. And when I saw her reaching up and calling for her mother over and over, and she sounded like a child, but she was pointing up like she could see her, right? And I was as I passed her room and kept walking, I was thinking to myself, maybe it's her time. It's time for her to go. And I'm still walking towards my son's room, which is probably about, 9 or 10 doors down. And I'm still thinking about what I just seen, because I had never seen or witnessed anything like that before. And it was just a quick moment. I'm talking maybe, 5 seconds, 10 seconds for what I saw. And it doesn't take long for you to experience a scene like that, right? And when I did that, things in my mind started, I started thinking a lot as I was walking, right? And I went to go visit my son. I sat there a few hours as we watched TV, but I could not get that image and that thought out of my mind. So I started thinking as I left the hospital that evening that was understanding the process of what was happening. Was she seeing her mother? And we've heard these things over and over of them seeing their loved ones on the other side, right? And that was the process that was going through my head. I think I finally got to witness something that I had never seen before, and in a sense gave me the peace of mind of, yeah, maybe this is what's going to happen to me as well, right? And which is it would be a great thing to see, right? Because it's like your suffering is going to be gone. You're not going to worry about this stuff no more. And you start thinking, my soul, my spirit will, or whatever it is, will travel to a different place, a different realm, a different dimension, or wherever it's going. There's going to be more peace and happiness, right? And this is what, and it gave me that sense of peace when I witnessed that. And this kind of gave me it let me rest. It let my mind rest at ease, because it put my mind in a different place to where, okay, now I know. I didn't just hear it or see it on YouTube or anything. I actually witnessed that with my own eyes, right? And I always tell you this, seeing is believing a lot of the times, right? You're not going to know there's a UFO sometimes. You're not going to even believe the person that's going to be telling you the story, because they were there. They were witnessing these things, right? You can be standing in front of this UFO, there's been an alien, and people are not going to believe you. But when you see something like that, a person going to the next part of eternity, or in a sense, leaving this dimension and going to a different place, a different part of the universe, then you start to understand that the connection is always there, right? The connection of a person's soul. We're all made of electrons, neurons, everything like that that's firing up in our bodies, that we always see videos and photos of how, the soul transcends out of the body. And people always witness about when they have NDEs that they see themselves below, or they see the doctors working on, or what they were wearing, or exactly what they were writing on a piece of paper. They told them exactly what it was. And if people didn't believe it, once you told them something like that, they'll believe you then, right? That your body, your soul leaves your body and it transcends into a different place, to where you can actually comprehend your surroundings, right? Things that are happening around you as you're in and out of either consciousness or in and out of life or death, right? In the early days, they reported, even in the 8th century, King Alfred, he translated that the use of the referral of immaterial spiritual thinking of an aspect of a person as contrasted with a physical body, right? So in other words, they're still talking about the soul of people, of what they are, and what it actually was, right? And then after a while, the Judaism, right, Christianity, and all these denominations, and they started talking about immortality, and they started putting this all together in their spiritual or biblical books, right, of human beings having immortal souls, right? And they infused all that in, but they say that a lot of this was influenced by Plato, right? And because this was way back then, when I was telling you at the very beginning of this podcast, where they were talking about the soul, where it came from, right? And then how they got these depictions. But if you really think about it, think about this just for a minute. Now, if we've all experienced a lot of people that you've talked to or seen or heard, or NDEs or YouTube, they didn't have that back then in the days, right? They didn't have YouTube or anything like that, but there was still a lot more word of mouth, right? That's the way it was. And they got this idea back then because they were experiencing something, or they were witnessing people that were having these NDEs, or before they left this life and then going into the afterlife, they were experiencing something that was very dramatic, but something that made an impact for them to put it in the books, to make stories of them, right? So something was happening, during the earliest days of the human life, right? On the books that we know about. Of course, human beings have been alive for thousands of years. We know that. Even before we became who we are, as far as knowing what greed is, and just kind of going through the motions of the human existence, of your actual making a character out of yourself. In other words, like maybe back then in the days of the Neanderthals, everybody had their own different way of things, like a different character. You were not all the same person, right? So everybody had their own ways of doing things. But before we actually put it into context like we have it now, there was no way to explain it or put it in books back then. So that's why we don't know exactly what happened, but I'm talking way back in the Neanderthalic days, that we don't know exactly what happened, because all we have is depictions of petroglyphs and geoglyphs and things that they have found in caves that are submerged underwater, right? So this is where we get the afterlife and what we have put as humanistic treasures, or how we've written it down as experiencing things from other people that have left this world and have not returned. Some do with NDEs. We talk about that, which is a near-death experience. And the hardest part of an NDE is going and coming back. A lot of these people, they're just like, I don't want to come back. I was fine where I was going. Most of the time, all these stories that you hear, nobody wants to come back. Nobody. And they all play a certain part of, why am I going through this peace, love, everything that happens when they reach the other side. And majority of the people that, like I said, you talk to, they're just like, no, I didn't want to come back. I wanted to stay where I was at. But the people from the other side were telling me, it is not your time. It's not your time yet. You still have work to do, right? And this is a lot of the spirituality, the Christianity, or whatever you want to call the universal words that come from the other side, telling us that we still got work to do, right? And you have to kind of take it as it is to what they're telling you. Now, some people do experience the affirmation and confirmation of people from the other side. Some people don't. Some people say, I don't have no dreams of my parents, or I don't have dreams of Nana, or nobody. Some people don't. And it's not because of you or that person, or because they're a bad person. It's just some people don't get to experience that. I know people that don't dream, right? They don't have any dreams. And the strange connection with that, I'm going to just change the subject for a second, when they don't have no dreams, is once they see a UFO, and I'm going to throw this out there, once they see a UFO, they start having dreams, right? It's like they have this awakening thing that happens to them. Something fires up in their brain, and it makes them open their eyes just a little bit more, right? And always have an open mind. And this is the part of having an open mind, right? And this is the connection, I believe, that's the possibility of why people start dreaming, or they start having visions or things from the other side. Now, one more story about my personal experience, because this is so strange, that just happened to me last week. Now, I was already getting this podcast together last week, And I didn't tell anybody what I was going to do just yet. And then I have this instant message from one of my cousins, one of my second cousins. You know, we're close, but we're not super, super close. But anyway, she sends me an instant message, and she says, "Hey, Donald." And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "I had a dream about your dad last night." And my dad's been gone for 14 years. So he passed away. And she says, "I had it when we were all real close when we were younger, right? We would all have these functions and barbecues and these awesome, river. We would be on a river with boats with all the cousins and everything when we were younger. First cousins, second cousins, all the family would get together. My dad would make sure that everybody was together, right?" Anyway, she says, "I had a dream about your dad last night." And she says, he looked real good. And you know what he said? I go, "Well, what did he say?" She goes, he said, you and your cousins need to get back together and start, talking to each other more. You all need to be together and do more things together and functions, right?" And she said, he told me that he wanted us all to be together again. And so we need to start visiting each other more often. And that's the strange thing, because I didn't tell anybody about what I was going to do about this podcast, right? And when she said that to me, I thought to myself, even before my dad passed away, right? We were very close, and he told me, mijo, he said, you and your cousins need to always get together, go fishing, go do these. He would always tell me that over and over and over, right? So when she told me this, that she had this dream and what he had said, it was a confirmation to me, even though it was a dream at a subconscious level. How would she know that? How would she know that what my dad used to tell me privately, right? But the connection came to her in that dream. And that is that was my confirmation to me that my dad was speaking to her from the other side, right? Somehow he was doing this. And why, right? And maybe everything on the other side knows what we're going to do next, or knows what's going to happen. Hey, there's no time there. Let's take a real quick break. We'll be right back in just a second.
Alien Strand Podcast.
All right, guys, welcome back. So, as I was talking about before, about the dream and my cousin and my dad and all that good stuff, that, that was the confirmation that our bodies, our souls do leave and they go somewhere. For me, and this is just for me, I don't know about you guys, but these things that I've experienced here lately is giving me confirmation on a lot of things that I've always wondered about, right? And these are the things that maybe what they wondered about too in the 1st century, the 2nd century, the 8th century. And they put it into words, into poems, into books, into stories to make us understand the things that were happening to folks, to people, right? And how we need to understand what happens to the soul as it leaves the body. As I was experiencing the walking through the hospital, seeing the elderly woman possibly leaving this world and seeing something on the other side. As I was getting the confirmation from my cousin about my father, right? These are the moments that put gives me my personal soul to rest, in a sense, to where I know that there's just not going to be blackness out there right after you go. And you can believe me, not believe me, and that's up to you. All of this is up to you to decide. But I'm just giving you my personal experiences of what has happened to the soul. And that's why I call this eternal or internal. And I believe it's eternal. It's more like something that you're going to live for eternity, in a sense, to where if you want to come back, hey, I told stories about that as well. There's nothing saying you can't, right? Reincarnation, that is a strong possibility as well. We've heard children tell stories of who they were from the past, how they died, how they came back. And it's usually the children, because after a while, maybe after 5 or 6, their minds start changing. That part of their life starts getting cloudy, and they end up forgetting exactly what had happened to them as a child, as far as the stories of their past lives, right? And this happens to a lot of people. And a lot of the stuff it was actually written in the book of Enoch about the afterlife. And there was just stories from all over these old biblical artifacts or old books. I call them historical books because I look at them as historical books as well, to tell you the stories of human beings, and the kindness and the affirmation of the soul, and where we go, and the things that we experience during our lifetime, the frequencies that we lock in on a daily life, right? We've talked about grounding, right? When you go outside, go barefooted early in the morning when you're nice and rested, walk on the grass for about 10-15 minutes. That gets your blood circulating perfectly. Weird, right? But that is a frequency of your soul, and you're connected with the earth in a sense, to where your blood is actually flowing. It's weird because they wrote a lot of these articles. There's a book called The Proof of Heaven, and then Heaven is for Real, of course, and they talk about this world of consciousness beyond the body, right? And when you read a lot of these stories and even the films, they make films about this, that you tend to understand that, whatever's on the other side is there, and we're expecting to be there. And whatever we're experiencing in this dimension, which is here now, life, growth, happiness, fear, anger, hate, growth, anything like that, overcome, sadness, happiness, everything that we experience on this dimension is just temporary. But only you can change that, right? In a sense, to where once you leave this vessel that we're in and go to our different place in the galaxy or in the world or in the dimension or in heaven or wherever we go to, that you're free from everything that happened in this lifetime. But make it the best. Make it the best as you can, right? In this lifetime. That's why they always say that tomorrow's never promised. And it's not for anyone. And this is why I treat life every day, every morning when I wake up, and every day that I go outside, and everything that I do with my children, or anything that I do with the family, or whatever I do. I take a deep breath, inhale, exhale, and enjoy the moment, because that moment may not be there tomorrow. Because when you experience these things that I have and I have seen and I have read, and you tend to understand the depth of life, of what it is, the connection that you have. Reconnect with people that you've lost, as far as that are still here walking amongst us, but reconnect with them and mending that and just having a good time from here on in, right? It's not always bad. Sometimes people do have stories of NDEs, which are near-death experiences, and it puts them in a different mindset once they come back. You hear it all the time about life now, or life walking on this earth. And there's a story, real quick story I'm going to do here, of a woman. Her name's Deborah Prum. She experienced something. She said she experienced 2 NDEs, near-death experiences, right? And it kind of put her in a fear, but in a sense not a fear after the second one. She says, my first NDE happened just after I went to bed early. I went into labor with my eldest child. I wound up in the hospital with a stroke-level blood pressure, low platelets, liver dysfunction, and seizure activity. The midwife was fumbling with a catheter. The obstetrician yelled, Get her into the OR now. Then I found myself, or the essence of myself, floating in the corner of the labor room, near the ceiling, looking down on the scene. She says, I was rushed to the operating room. They tried to resuscitate me and save both me and my son. She says, weirdly, I felt no emotion. Says the doctors took the tiny baby from a cesarean section for various reasons. He landed in a neonatal intensive care for about 2 weeks. They kept me in a medically induced coma for 3 days while trying to stabilize all that had gone awry. I continued to battle health issues for months, except for my husband Bruce. I don't remember telling anyone about my out-of-body experience. I didn't know what to make of it, nor how to talk about it. Instead, I focused on care, on our fragile son, and regaining my own health. She says my second NDE occurred on a bitterly cold Valentine's Day. So cold I put my mom's wool coat on, thick and cumbersome garment. She says I only had worn it a few times. She says Bruce and I planned to meet 2 other couples downtown at a restaurant called The Local. As we approached a busy intersection, my last memory was feeling thankful when I spotted a brilliant green traffic light ahead. The stop at those 2 roads always seemed like eternity. We were running late, so I felt happy that we could kind of breeze through this. She says we didn't breeze through. Later I learned that a man with no license driving an SUV, no registration, plowed through the intersection, crossed into our lane, and smashed into us head on. Based on the damage caused by the impact of the car, he was going more than 40 miles per hour. The collision turned our Volvo into a rubble. The airbag hit my husband, breaking his glasses and cutting his forehead. She said, when Bruce is a physician, noticed that I was slumped and unconscious. He attempted to check my vitals as he could find signs of breathing or a heartbeat. There was no signs. He panicked and repeatedly yelled my name. Immediately after the crash, I had no awareness of myself or a unique entity, no cognition of having a distinct identity. Instead, I felt utterly profound, peacefully in a way that I never sensed. She says, I felt safe and at home. I seemed to be immersed in a glowing yellow. I don't know how to describe this, with a sensation except as I felt I had been dropped into a vat of pudding. But in a good way. I didn't feel dead. If anything, I felt blissfully alive. I experienced the euphoria of essence of shimmy in the middle of life force. As I write these words, I am reminded of a string theory, the idea of theoretical physics, that the whole universe is made of tiny, distinct strands, closed loops of energy, as each string vibrating as its own frequency. Perhaps at that moment, I became a closed loop of energy, both part of a distinct from rest of the universe. I heard my husband calling my name at a vast distance. I felt annoyed, but I wanted to stay put. To be honest, I don't remember making any clear decisions to go back. At that point, I'm not sure what I felt, even if I had an agency, she says. Just that even that if I possessed a safe capable of making a decision, in other words, she was just floating there in a sense, looking. Over the years, I've become weepy when I remember my strong resistance to returning. She says, maybe the source of my tears is rooted in guilt. That my reluctance to return to my earthly body represents a betrayal of my loved ones. Perfuming in a yellow pudding place to be continued to life with them, she says. Or baby, the weepiness is simply a long for peace of the other home that I felt. So this is her story of her two near-death experiences. And this is what people go through every day. People pass away every day. People pass away and come back and tell us their stories of the other side. And it's stories like this that gives me the comfort, and I don't know if it gives you, but it gives me the comfort that whatever is on the other side, waiting for every one of us here that is listening to this show today, whatever's waiting for us on the other side is blissful and peaceful. And for some, we can't wait to go back there. And this is why I say, enjoy every moment, every breath you take, every day when you wake up in the morning. Thank the universe for whatever you want to thank. For just be able to be living in this moment and enjoy with your friends and with people that you love, or just having wonderful thoughts and experiences and the connections that you are making on a daily basis, like we are here at Alien Strand. The connections with other human beings is crucial. With other people is crucial to make a strong connection with people that understand and enjoy your company and understand you, because they're right there with you within the same frequency and the same frequency of the universe, which connects and binds you all. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast as much as I have. I told you it was going to be deep. Oh, yeah. Real deep, man. But I really enjoyed giving you this information. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. If you did, give us a thumbs up here on this audio platform. Share it with your friends. Share it with as many people as possible. Don't forget to watch the middle podcast, the middle films. Ooh. Watch all 3 that are out right now on Amazon Prime. Please check it out. Give us a thumbs up on that film after the film's over. Go to Amazon Prime there on your app and give us a nice review. All right. I hope this podcast touched you as much as it touched me, as well, as far as the depth of the universe and the depth and the connection to everything that we have, not just as people, but just, the connection of love and everything that happens with everybody. So this is what we're here about here at Alien Strand Podcast with ASDP, with family and friends. We're here to connect with everybody. Like I said, once you've experienced a lot of this deep connections with the extraterrestrials, UFOs, supernatural, even the what I just talked about, the just going to the other side and coming back, if you've experienced a lot of this stuff, connect with us at ASDP Family. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a story and anything you want to get on the show, give me a call, 361-245-8000, or just send me an email or an instant message at Alien Strand there on Facebook. Be sure to go to click all my links after this podcast. Go follow us on all these platforms. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. We'll see you tonight. We're going to have a nice video podcast. I'm going to show you some cool videos. It's going to be amazing. All right, guys. Until then, you guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
About CE5 and extraterrestrial contact. Download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5, Frequencies of Contact.